All right, we're going to be working in the SolidWorks program now. And our first assignment is Solid 1. And in Canvas, the assignment says this. We're now using the SolidWorks software. We'll be following these steps to create the parts within this software. Now remember, in class last week, I talked about these 6 steps. So I just wanted to write them out so that you understood what they were. And as we start to draw our first object, I will go through each of these objects. I'll name them. Every time I do a new step, I will name them so that you understand which step I'm in. So it says we're going to select a plane or a surface, create a sketch, dimension the sketch, exit the sketch, choose a feature, and then finish the feature. These six steps are used every time we want to create something in the SolidWorks software. Create the following object using the grid marks of 1 inch by 1 inch by 1 inch below. When done creating the part, please place the front, top, right side view and the isometric view onto a paper for submission. Use an A4 landscape title block and fill it out with your name and drawing number. All right, so let's take a look at the object that we're going to be creating. It's this block here. And each of these grid marks is equal to 1 inch in length, 1 inch in width, and 1 inch in height. So this object here, if we take a look at the length of this object, it is 1, 2, it's 3 inches long in total length. It is 1, 2, 3 inches wide in total width. And it is 1, 2, 3 inches tall in total height. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by creating a brick. I'm going to cut this notch out of it, and then we'll trim off this corner and we'll trim off this corner. Okay, so we're going to add and then subtract using a 3 by 3 by 3 starting brick is what we're going to do. Okay, now there's other ways we can do this. We could create like an L bracket and give depth to that L bracket and then chop off this corner and chop off this corner. We could do that. That would be another way to start. For me, it's just easier to create the brick and then get rid of what we don't need. So that's how I'm going to start this assignment. Let me stop share real quick and then I will reinsert the SolidWorks software. Let's see here. Okay. So we are in the SolidWorks software. I'm going to create a new. I'm going to click on this new. It gives me this document here. We're going to create a new part. So I click OK. I'm going to make sure that I'm in IPS down here in the bottom right-hand corner because I want to be in inches, pounds, seconds. I don't want to be in the metric system, so make sure that you're using inches. And the first thing I'm going to do is decide which view do I want to start working in. And I'm going to choose the front view, which means I'm going to show the length measurement and the height measurement when I draw my sketch. So I'm going to select, so this is step 1, select a plane. And if I click on the plane itself and go to this normal 2, it'll turn the plane towards me. So that was step number 1. Step number 2 is to create a sketch. So I'm going to click on sketch and I'm going to click on the rectangle command. I'm going to start right at the origin. This red X and Y arrows are my origin, so I started there. So step number 2 is to create a sketch. Step number 3 is to dimension the sketch. So I'm going to go to Smart Dimension up here in the top left corner. And I'm going to single click on the edge of my box and then come over here and single click. That drops off the measurement. So I'm going to just type in that I want it to be 3, enter. And I'm going to click on single click on the top edge, single click to drop it off. Say that that is 3 also. So I have a 3 inch by 3 inch box. And if I use my middle roller ball button and hold it down and spin. That's like an orbital tool. So I just spun it a little bit so I could see when I add in the depth using the feature, I can show what it is. So anyways, so I've selected my plane, the front plane. I created a sketch. I've dimensioned my sketch. Now I need to exit my sketch, and I'm still, oops. I was still in the sketch command there. So I just exited the sketch, and typically you'll do that by check marking there on the sketch toolbox that pops up. You'll just hit the green check mark. So that was step number, what? Select plane. That was exit the sketch was step 4. Okay. Step number 5 is to choose the feature. So what I need to do before I choose the feature, I'm going to highlight the sketch that I'm working on, and I'm going to go select feature. I'm going to extrude a boss, which means I'm going to extrude something I'm going to add to it. And it wants to know how far, how deep, how big is this item going to be? Well, if you're just sketching, all you have to do is grab the arrow and pull it. But we're not just sketching, we're giving size here. So with a dimension right here, I'm going to type in that it is a 3-inch deep object. And then I just check mark that I am done. So that was choose the feature, which was extrude boss. I added in all the measurements that I needed in here, and now I'm finishing the feature, which is step 6, by clicking on the check mark. Good. So now I have this 3 by 3 by 3 brick. So now I'm going to go to the top of this, and I'm going to cut off the corner and leave myself with an L bracket. So I'm going to go to this surface right here. This is the top surface. And if I single click on it and hold my mouse still, you'll see that this little flag pops up here. I'm going to go normal to, and here's where I'm going to cut out this brick or this corner right here. So step number 1, select the plane. I did that. In fact, it's still blue. Step number 2, create a sketch. So I need to go to the sketch tab, click on sketch, and get a rectangle. I'm going to start it at this bottom corner, and I know I'm perfectly at the corner when I get that little orange dot. Single click and drag in this rectangle here. That was step number 2, was to create the sketch. Step number 3 is to dimension the sketch. So let me click on dimension. Now I've got 2 things. I can either tell how big this part is, or I can tell how big this part is. Either one is fine. So I'm going to show you this measurement right here, which has got to be 1 inch. So if I single click on the top here, it gives me this measurement. But if I also single click on this line here, it gives me this measurement. Now I single click to drop it off, and I want this to be 1 inch. So just 1 inch and then enter. I'm going to do the same thing for this depth here. So I'm going to single click on this, single click on this, and drop off this measurement. And that's also going to be 1 inch. Notice everything is black. Everything now is the right size. All the colors have turned black, meaning that it's fully defined. In fact, down here in the bottom, it states that your object is fully defined, meaning it's got all the measurements that it needs. So that was step number 3, dimensioning the sketch. I'm done with that, so I can check mark dimension, and I'm done with my sketch, so I can exit the sketch. So I can click on that and stop the sketch. Now I click on the feature, choose feature, and I'm going to extrude a boss, but I'm actually going to, so I'm not going to extrude a boss, I'm going to extrude a cut. And it wants to know, is this the piece? Yep, this is the piece that we're going to be cutting. And instead of giving it a measurement of 3 inches, I could just leave it at 3 inches, but I'm just going to get in the habit of saying that I want this cut to go through the whole thing, so through all. If I use my roller ball on my mouse to spin, you can see that I'm going to be cutting this corner out. So I check mark and I cut out that corner. The next part is there's a cut that I'm going to make right here. I'm going to cut a triangle out of this corner right here. So I'm going to highlight this wall, normal to. It starts right at this corner and goes down. It just goes down 1 inch and then up to this corner and back. So I'm going to, I've already selected the surface, the plane, that's step 1. Number 2 is to create the sketch. So I go sketch. 3 is I'm going to use a line and I'm going to create a full triangle. I'm going to go from this corner over to this corner, down somewhere right in here, and then back up to the corner. So I've created a full triangular entity there. Okay. So that was creating the sketch. I'm done with the sketch. So I'm now going to smart dimension. And really the only dimension I need is this one right here. I have to tell that this is 1 inch. And now that everything else takes care of itself. So I'm done dimensioning. So now I say I'm done dimensioning. I exit the sketch. I go to feature, extrude cut. This is the cut that I want to make. And I want it to go through all. And as I turn this, you'll see that I am going through the whole thing there. Okay. And I've trimmed that piece out. Now I'm going to trim one last corner. I'm going to come down here and then over to this corner here. All right. So I'm going to highlight this face, normal to, create a sketch. I'm going to use a line command to do so. So I'm going to go line. I'm going to start at this corner. I'm going to go up at an angle like this, somewhere right up in here. Straight up from there to this top line. You got to make sure that it turns orange when you're on that top line. Over to this corner here and back down. So notice I created an entire enclosed area. That's what I'm going to cut out, but I just need to tell it the sizes of what I'm going to cut. So let me check mark. I'm done with the line. I'm now going to step 3, which is dimension the sketch. And this part here is only 1 inch tall. So let me go 1. And this part here should be 1 inch also. 1. And notice it slid it over to the location where it needed to be. Everything is black. It understands exactly what I want. So now that was step number 3. Step number 4 is to exit the sketch. So let me exit the sketch. Step number 5 is to choose the feature. So I'm going to extrude a cut. What did I do wrong? I wonder what I did wrong. Here is my sketch. What did I not do with my sketch? Here's the sketch. Extrude. All right, for some reason it wasn't highlighted. So what I did was I just highlighted. Let me show you what I did. I highlighted the sketch here. That represents this sketch. And I took that and I said, okay, that's what I want to cut. All right, so let me spin this sideways. That's what I want to cut out. And yes, I'm going to change from blind to through all. I want to make that entire cut and check mark. Oops. Okay, so here's my finished product. And that looks just like the assignment sheet. So let me save this real quick. Save as. I'll call this solid 1. And I'm now going to create a new file, which is going to be a drawing, so I can import solid 1 into that assignment. So I'm just going to go up to new. I'm going to make a drawing from part assembly or part or an assembly. So I'm going to make a drawing. And I'm going to use an A4 landscape. It's not listed. A4 landscape's not listed here. So I just go browse, scroll down, and there's A4 landscape at the bottom there. Open. Okay. And it gives me solid 1 is the name of my drawing, so that's good. I'm going to go up to view layout and I'm going to go model view. And here's my solid 1 assignment. So I double click on that. I want the front view. So this is front, top, right side view, isometric view, bottom view, left side, and back side. I'm going to start with the front view. And I'm simply going to click. I'm going to go straight above that, click. I'm going to come straight to the right, click. And I'm going to straight up at an angle and click. I'm going to check mark that I'm all done with that. But I'm going to highlight the isometric view. That pops this back up. And I'm going to say that I don't want the hidden line shown in my isometric view. Fortunately for us, there are no hidden lines elsewhere in this thing. All the lines that we see are visible lines. And so the last thing I'll have to do is just fill out our title block. And to fill out the title block, you should be able to, let's see, if I right mouse click and go edit sheet format, I can now, I can double click inside here and put in Milton. And then if I right mouse click, sorry, inside here, if I right mouse click and go edit sheet, it goes back to the original location. So in order to edit inside your title block, you right mouse click, edit sheet format. You can make changes, you can do what you need to do. And then when you're done, right mouse click, hold on, right mouse click, where's edit sheet? Edit sheet right there. And that takes you back to your drawing. Okay. So that would be the finished product of what you're going to submit into SolidWorks.